Recently, a subscriber asks, every time I hear about the CAGED system, it's followed by someone saying it's bad and it's crappy and blah, blah, blah. Why would it be considered bad and why should or shouldn't I learn it? Okay, first of all, 100% of the guitar players that are knocking it, this is an immediate clue that they don't actually understand what it is. Because if they did, they would never say that. Why? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say you were trying to learn to speak a language, and someone said, no, don't learn the alphabet. That's bad. That's the same kind of baboon players are spewing out when they diss the CAGED system. You see, CAGED is like the fundamental code of the fretboard. It's like having the Rosetta Stone for how every chord, scale, lick, and arpeggio lays out on the neck. Now, of course, it's not the only way to learn the fretboard. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. But in my past 25 years of trying tons of methods, about 15 years in of struggling, I discovered the CAGED system and haven't looked back since. And in fact, when I showed it to my students, all of them got great results as well. Now, most players who say, I already know it, they often just think that it's the chords C, A, G, E, and D, played up the neck, and there's nothing more to it. But the reality is you can't actually learn CAGED from any one free resource on the internet, because it can't be covered in a few YouTube videos or a couple blog posts. It goes much deeper. And this is a great example, actually, of why free is the new expensive, because these players just get to a certain point with it and go, oh yeah, that's it, that's all there is to it, and then they end up being held back. Another reason why CAGED is the best is because it takes this incredibly tough task of learning the fretboard and just makes it simple. It boils it all down to a couple campfire chords. All throughout my career as a professional musician, when I got to be around some of the greatest musicians in the world, players like Kenny Burrell and Hollywood studio musicians, and even, lesser known virtuoso players like Scotty Anderson, when I asked them what they were thinking when they were soloing, they always responded with very simple ideas. For example, like, here I'm playing up the A chord, or this is the C shape, or I'm just playing notes in the C chord. And this could apply to simple music, like a blues is just 1, 4, 5, A, D, and E. But it also can apply to very complex music as well. For example, Kenny Burrell, he was the only guitar player that ever made a record with John Coltrane. And John Coltrane is regarded as one of the greatest jazz improvisers of all time. And the way this works is when you think about more complex chord changes, for example, let's just say we took a chord like C major 7, right? The upper part of a C major 7 is and just an E minor chord. So the notes are C, E, G, and B, but E, G, and B, that's actually E minor. So when you understand how CAGED can apply to upper structure like jazz chords, it's really an amazing system as well, where it can be very simple or it can be very complex, but you're still all processing it through, again, the lens of like very simple chords that we all started with, C, A, G, E, and D. Another thing about the CAGED system is that it works for both rhythm and lead. So I think about it when I'm playing, say, a Keith Richards, guitar part, or I'm also just playing a single note solo. And many times players go their entire lives without realizing that they're using it. There's a famous story about B.B. King playing with U2, and he's on tour with U2, and he's going to sit in with one of their songs. And so The Edge, the guitar player for U2, sits down with B.B. King, and he's like, all right, B.B., let me show you the chords. And B.B. just says, now hold on, gentlemen. He tells him in the van, he goes, I don't play chords. And I thought that was awesome. And when you see B.B. King, a lot of times he's not really playing chords. He's got a band behind him. He comes out, he sings amazing, and then he solos. But if he didn't play chords and he didn't think about it this way, check out this quote from B.B. King. I may not have called it the CAGED system, but I've always relied on those 5 basic shapes to guide me around the guitar. They're like old friends that I can trust no matter where I am on the neck. And there's another example of a legend who ended up in the same place, you know, even after all these years, and who doesn't even play chords, but he's still thinking about the CAGED system even in his solos. And that comes back to my point of why it's great for both rhythm and lead. If you need help with this, grab my free fretboard guide. It's going to get you started with putting the fretboard together in the best way that, again, is used by all these legends. Just go to johnmclennan.com/fretboard guide and pick that up as my gift to you. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this one, I think you'll really like this one next.